What's going on, guys? It's Cimo. So today I wanted to bring to you a card discussion on Chaos Hunter. Chaos Hunter has quickly become one of my favorite cards of this format, not only because of its application in meta matchups, but also because of the wide flexibility that the card has going into a lot of other rogue matchups as well. It makes Chaos Hunter a very flexible side card in that respect. So we're going to go into all the ways as to why Chaos Hunter is a good card, but before we do that, I want to give a big shout out to my newest patrons as always. So big shout outs today to Jonathan, and if you guys want to help support me and the channel through Patreon, then check out the link in the description below. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into it. So for those of you who don't know, Chaos Hunter is a card that reads as follows. Chaos Hunter is a dark level 7 fiend effect monster with 2500 attack and 1600 defense. And the effect reads: when your opponent special summons a monster, except during the damage step, you can discard one card. Special summon this card from your hand. Your opponent cannot banish cards. So that's something you definitely want to keep in mind, because Chaos Hunter, while being short, sweet, and to the point, the effect is really simple, but the fact that it's a one-sided effect is very, very critical, because you can still banish all the fucking cards that you want, but your opponent is under that stipulation that they cannot banish cards. That means they cannot banish their own cards, and that also means they cannot banish your cards at the same time. Now, why is that good? Well, let's start off with the main reason you would want to play this card in your side deck, and that would be Trickstar. Now, what's the biggest pain in the ass card when it comes to Trickstar? Trickstar Reincarnation. No one loves getting their entire hand banished by Trickstar Reincarnation. Hell, no one loves getting their entire hand banished by Trickstar Reincarnation twice and then getting Droll Knockbird dropped on them. So Chaos Hunter is a very viable way to solve this problem, because what would happen is, if your Trickstar player is going first, you can go ahead and have that Chaos Hunter ready in your hand, because what's going to happen is, most likely your opponent is going to find a way to search out Trickstar Reincarnation and get a copy of Trickstar Licorice in their hand, because what they're going to do is that during the closing moves of their turn, they're going to bounce the Candina back to their hand to summon the Trickstar Licorice, and then they're going to set Trickstar Reincarnation. But when they do that, all you have to do is, since they special summon a monster, which in this case was Licorice, you discard a card and special summon Chaos Hunter. This now means that Trickstar Reincarnation is turned off for the duration of time that Chaos Hunter remains on the field. The thing is, though, Chaos Hunter is going to remain on the field for quite a long time, because it's actually very difficult for Trickstar to have a way to out this card, because Chaos Hunter also turns off one of the deck's most essential pieces of removal, Eater of Millions. Eater of Millions needs to be special summoned by banishing cards, and since your opponent can no longer banish cards since Chaos Hunter has hit the field, that's going to completely mitigate their ability to summon the Eater of Millions and remove Chaos Hunter in turn. Now, going back to Trickstar Reincarnation though, because the fact that Chaos Hunter prevents you from getting your hand banished by this card is good, but it also means that they can't use Trickstar Reincarnation's graveyard ability to banish Trickstar Reincarnation to special summon a Trickstar monster back onto the field. So that means if you're attempting to go in for an OTK, you know that if you have Chaos Hunter on the field, that you're going to be safe and they're not going to be able to pull off any shenanigans, you know, maybe outside of something like Scapegoat. Now, another thing that Trickstar pretty much plays as a 3 of is Pot of Desires. Chaos Hunter is going to get in there, prevent your opponent from using their Pot of Desires because they can't banish 10 for cost, which means that Trickstar won't be able to dig for additional resources as a way to try to out the Chaos Hunter, because sure, they might play cards like Scapegoat to be able to link up into some monsters to remove it, or they might play something like Raigeki, but if you deny them the ability to dig deeper into their deck because of a card like Chaos Hunter, you're going to be in really good shape. But Chaos Hunter also has a lot of application outside of a deck like Trickstar. It also has application against a deck like Infernoid, basically being able to shut down the entire deck strategy in general. Infernoids all need to be special summoned, and as soon as your opponent just special summons one monster to the field, you can drop Chaos Hunter. They're not going to be able to special summon any more Infernoids for the duration of the turn, and they're basically just going to be fucked out right there and then, because if they have no way to out that Chaos Hunter, their turn pretty much just comes to an end as a whole. Another card that this stops that's very important, especially for 60 card decks, is Left Arm Offering. Left Arm Offering is essentially a win condition in a deck like Infernoid, because if they're able to search out a card like That Grass Looks Greener, or anything else that they're basically trying to dig for in that instance, then basically because they can't banish their hand because Chaos Hunter has hit the field, they're not going to be able to search for that win condition, so you can feel rather safe under a card like Chaos Hunter in that respect. Now there's another 60 card deck that this can be quite effective against as well, and that is Lightsworn, or Shiranui Lightsworn, Zombie Lightsworn, any of its variants, hell, even Lightsworn Infernoid since we already covered it. But Lightsworn is also a very effective deck that Chaos Hunter works against, and that's also because of a card like Fairy Tale Snow. Fairy Tale Snow can be one of the most atrocious cards to deal with because of the fact it's not once per turn, and basically as long as your opponent has cards in their graveyard to banish, you're going to have to deal with Snow disrupting your plays in some way, shape, or form. However, with Chaos Hunter, they're no longer going to be able to banish cards, which means they're no longer going to be able to summon Snow to the field. They can chain Snow in response to the activation of Chaos Hunter to maybe get it out onto the field one time, but frankly, that's not going to matter because once you pretty much force the Snow out, that's going to give you the proactive position because then you can choose how to deal with the card in that effective manner. And that's very important too because you have to remember also if you're going up against a Lightsworn Zombie or Lightsworn Shiranui deck, they're not going to be able to banish their copies of Mizuki to summon out their other zombies to help facilitate other plays in their extra deck. So it not only works against one of their most disruptive tools, but it also works against their proactive options as well. Now, Chaos Hunter can work against so many other different decks as well. Take a deck like ABC. One of the most annoying things to deal with turn 1 going against ABC is ABC Dragon Buster. So at any point, if your opponent were to special summon a monster to their field before making the Dragon Buster, you can just drop Chaos Hunter, and now ABC Dragon Buster is going to be turned completely offline. And because they're going first, they don't have that battle phase, which can make it a little more difficult for them to out the Chaos Hunter if they're trying to go into that turn 1 Dragon Buster, putting you in the driver's seat and giving you the much more proactive position when it comes to your turn because you're going to be able to effectively control the game from that state. You can also use it against a deck like Invoked. Invoked is a very strong deck, and by being able to deny their ability to banish cards like Alistair using Invocation, or banishing your cards from your graveyard to be able to summon some of their powerful Invoked monsters, that pretty much denies the entire engine's ability to function and puts you in a very advantageous position. And hell, if they're playing a true Draco Invoked variant, it also has more synergy there because you're going to be able to deny them from being able to banish the continuous spells and traps on a monster like Masterpiece. So the more you kind of think about it, the more application you can see a card like Chaos Hunter has against a wide variety of different decks. It's very strong against Hero because it denies Darklaw's ability to banish cards on your field, effectively acting as a counter to essentially the deck's win condition. And one deck that it is extremely powerful against that we may not have here currently in the TCG, but is definitely a threat in the OCG, is Plant FTK, because with Plant FTK, Amaryllis has to banish a plant monster from the graveyard to special summon itself out onto the field and get the whole loop going to burn you for 8,000 life points. Well, if you drop Chaos Hunter at the right moment to be able to deny the Amaryllis from being able to be special summoned in the first place, or before they're able to maybe get that Topologic Bomber Dragon on the field so that they can't wipe the Chaos Hunter first, then you're going to deny the Plant FTK, and this gives you another good option outside of the plethora of hand traps you're probably already running in the first place to stop the Plant FTK as a whole. I really just love what Chaos Hunter does because it's so simple, but yet it can be so effective at the same time. Now, obviously, it's not the greatest card in certain circumstances. Take, for instance, it's not the best against every single deck, but no card really is. You also have to consider the fact that you do have to discard a card in order for Chaos Hunter to work and be able to do its thing. So you do need to have an additional card to be able to special summon it, and it is a little bit reliant on your opponent special summoning a monster so that you can drop Chaos Hunter onto the field. So if your opponent is skilled enough and can figure out a way to play around it, they're probably going to play around it in a way that they can. But sometimes you can't play around it. I mean, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is pretty much just plagued by special summoning nowadays. I mean, special summoning is not special because you're doing it multiple times in a single turn. So at some point, they're gonna have to make a play to special summon a monster, which means you're gonna have your opportunity to strike with Chaos Hunter and pretty much end all of their hopes and dreams. But guys, that's it for my thoughts on Chaos Hunter. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think about this card as a whole. I really just love everything that this card does because it's so simple, it's so effective, it's so good against a myriad of different rogue decks, in addition to some meta decks as well. And moving into a format where the ban list might shift and we might see a drastic shift in the way the meta is, I think this is a very good tool to consider since it has so much application against a lot of the tier 2 and tier 3 contenders that we might see move up a notch moving into later formats. But guys, thank you so much for watching the video. Be sure to like the video as always, subscribe to the channel for more amazing Yu-Gi-Oh content, and if you found this video informative, consider backing me on Patreon, because just by pledging only $1 a month, you're investing in my ability to continue bringing you amazing Yu-Gi-Oh content. So thanks so much again, and we'll see you next time.